Hello everyone, I'm going to talk to you guys about Pythagorean theorem, which is the first topic for this first week of e-learning. First thing I want you to be able to do is I want you to pick out what is the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always going to be the longest side of a right triangle, and it's also straight across from the right angle. So if you can find the right angle, you just go straight across. The hypotenuse has to be the variable c. So in problem 3, the hypotenuse here is c. In problem 4, here's the right angle, straight across is the hypotenuse, which is c. In number 5, here's my right angle, so straight across from it, the hypotenuse is actually 10.6. On number 6, here's my right angle, straight across is 15, that's my hypotenuse. Number 7, here's my right angle, straight across is 26, that's the hypotenuse. And on number 8, here's the right angle, straight across would be this 12 1/3. So every single time we start by saying a squared plus b squared equals c squared, but we have to pay attention to which variable gets plugged in for what. On number 3 here, what I'm missing is the hypotenuse, which is c. They may not always use that variable, but 20 and 21 are what we call the legs. They have to be plugged in for A and B. It doesn't matter which one. A and B are interchangeable. They are both legs. So this is what my work looks like. 20 squared plus 21 squared equals c squared. So you can use a calculator here. 20 squared is 400. 21 squared, so I need to get back to that. On your calculator, we do 21, and you can just do the squared button here, is 441. And that equals c squared. And now you're combining like terms, which is 881. And then to undo a square, the opposite of squaring is square rooting. So I'm going to square root 881. So on my calculator, as a reminder, I do second x squared, because above the x squared is that square root. I type in 881, and it gives me 29.681. Now we're going to round that. So to the nearest tenth would be 29.7, because the 8 is big enough to make that a 7. So 29.7 is my C. If there's a label on it, you know, this was kilometers, so then this would be kilometers. Okay, and that's an example of finding the missing hypotenuse in a right triangle. Now, I'm going to do number 5 next, because number 5, we're not missing a hypotenuse, but we are missing a leg. So I always say a squared plus b squared equals c squared, but my a value is what I don't know. Again, a and b are interchangeable. It doesn't really matter. The b is going to be 5.6. You have to square it because of the formula, and the c value is 10.6. So this is me plugging in the one leg that I knew and the one hypotenuse that I knew. And now I'm going to use my calculator to help me with 5.6 squared. That is 31.36. And 10.6 squared is 112.36. Okay, now two sides of your equation, your goal is always to get the variable by itself. So what I have to do here is I have to subtract 31.36. So that gives me a squared equals, and I'll go ahead and use my calculator over here, and that gives me 81. And then my final step is always going to be to square root. So I'm going to square root the a squared, which is a. I'm going to square root 81, which is 9. And if I come back and I look at my picture, it does make sense that this is 9, because my hypotenuse always has to be the longest side. So 9 is a reasonable answer. So there's the two examples. When you're finding the hypotenuse, which is a c, we actually add those two squares. You always square root at the end. And when I know the hypotenuse, but I'm missing a leg, this is where you're going to have to subtract that square from the hypotenuse squared. And again, the last step is to square root. Hope that helps.